All right, ladies and gentlemen, James Williams, Dark Waters, and I'm back. We're back to explore what's going on with the drones in the sky. And again, guys, if you're here with me, people going to say a lot of crap. People going to be saying it's drones searching for this, is this, is this. We're not just going with the narrative. We're chasing down rabbit holes to see what's what. So the most interesting narrative now is that a government, quote unquote, government contractor has come out and said that these drones are supposed to be searching for some type of nuclear device. Now, I don't know how many of you guys actually listen to what has been said by the gentleman. Most times people don't listen. The way information spreads is the same way it's popping up in my feed. It's, I do a video, somebody says, hey, Dark Waters, they're saying it's breaking news. Drones are chasing down nuclear dirty bomb weapons, right? But you trace the sources of it. So if I'm not mistaken, the first source that said this was Next News Network, 2.2 million subscribers, quality source in my opinion. But, and I say but to negate that part, but I want to see for myself. And I advise you to behave this way as it pertains to things that are going on around you. If you really think about how America got into the position we're in, it's because people didn't think for themselves. The news media came out and they told you, well, this person's great. Let's take Obama. Obama's great. He's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. Obama ended up being the most divisive president in the history of the United States. But in the moment, it seemed like he was great. And so you have to always hearken back to the lessons that you've learned before. And you have to remain skeptical. And so everything I say to you right now is me being skeptical. You understand? Completely and totally skeptical. Hold on, somebody's trying to get in the door. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have to remain skeptical. So let's see what this gentleman is saying. I'm not saying he's right. I'm not saying he's wrong. I just want to see what he's saying for myself. So let's take a listen.
Hey, everyone. My name is John Ferguson. I'm the CEO of Saxon Aerospace here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not normally a TikTok kind of a guy. I like watching this stuff every once in a while. But I'm a manufacturer of unmanned aircraft, military-grade unmanned aircraft, as you can see one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on off the East Coast, and as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. It's my own opinion, and I've not bounced this off of anybody. So, if you think it's bullshit, whatever, that's cool. I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know that there's a lot of that going around. But anyway.
All right, so let's establish. His opening of his argument is he said he manufactures drones for the government. I'm not necessarily sure if I heard him say government contracts, but let's assume that he has a contract with the government to make drones. He says that he believes the drones don't have nefarious intent and that he's not bounced what he's about to say off anyone. All right. We're going with his words. Let's go with what he says next. Now, he says this is his opinion. You can accept it or not and believe it's bullshit or not. So this is his opinion. So now we know that this is opinion. Now, if he says anything else contradictory to this, we just want to be mindful of it. If he says, well, I've been talking to people inside the Pentagon or I've been getting sources, then okay, you lied in the very beginning. And I'm not calling this man a liar. We're just listening to what the man says. Actually listening, not hearing words, but listening.
Back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program, and there were, with Russia, there were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. Okay? We don't know where they are. Maybe somebody does, but nobody really knows where these are. And I speak with some pretty high-level government officials on this stuff. And
okay, so now we're speaking with high-level government officials, but it's opinion. And this is what I would do with eyewitnesses, guys, when they would call me about a story about seeing something strange in the woods. I would sit here and listen, and I would listen to the opening argument. So here's the opening argument. He even said, to lay out his credibility, I'm John Ferguson. He gave the name of his company. No nefarious intent. Not bounce this off of anyone. So now we're going back to saying I speak to government officials. Let's just keep going.
It seems as though that is the case.
That in talking to government officials is in reference to the missing nukes. To be fair to John, I'm not trying to be unfair to John.
So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew that that thing was headed towards the United States. Okay? That is a very serious deal. And everyone knows that the United States government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. We all know that. We all feel it. We all.
So we talked to people in the past that are high level that talked about nukes going missing. Then we recently talked to somebody who said he put his hands on a nuke that was heading to America. But he hasn't bounced this off anyone.
All see it. Okay? Well, back up a few years. Do y'all remember when those drones were mysteriously flying across the Interstate 70 corridor from Colorado up into Nebraska, down here into Kansas, and out into Missouri? Well, it was believed that those drones were looking for radioactive material because there had been some material that come up missing here in the United States, and they felt like it was high probability that the nuclear or the radioactive material would be taken along the Interstate 70 corridor heading east or west or south. So from what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking for bad guys.
ISR work. All right.
Or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project, right? There's no reason for a drone to be flying at night, really, okay?
I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to go through what the gentleman's saying, but I'm going to tell you right now the problem I have with what's being said. You can't readily admit that the you can't readily admit that the Biden administration is trying to get us into World War III, and then side with anything that's coming out of the Department of Defense from the Biden administration. And I'll explain it to you later.
Okay, because they don't see shit. So, unless you have thermal optics, drones really don't see stuff. You need to do mapping during the day. If you're going to do farming stuff, you mostly do it during the day. The only reason why you would ever fly an unmanned aircraft at night, is if you're looking for something, whether it be a person or trying to smell gas. We have methane gas detection systems that can detect gas leaks in pipelines. You really wouldn't use thermal optics for trying to find gas leaks, just simply because the only way you're actually going to find a gas leak with thermal optics is if the gas leak is aggressive enough that it has a difference in temperature. Because thermal imaging, it creates a digital image based off of the temperature variance. So whatever is different in temperature, it creates an image. Usually gas leaks so slow that it goes quickly into ambient before you can even see it. So we have special sensors that can detect gas leaks. We also have special sensors that can detect radioactive material. So with this gentleman that I had spoken with, who was trying to raise the alarm to try to get somebody in the government to say, hey, we need to work together to go try to find this nuclear warhead, none of that ever happened. They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm and raise awareness that there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States.
I'm trying to get the argument here. So the argument is that I know somebody who knew there was a nuclear weapon coming to the United States, and the United States government did not help this person when he tries to raise the alarm. And so the result would be, are we saying that the result is now all of a sudden the American government, who the alarm was raised to, is now searching for the nuclear weapon? Is that the argument? Or is that what's being presented to us?
It's out there. Nobody knows where it's at now. It left Europe. Now it's gone. So my guess.
Okay, we getting to the point where it's his guess. Thank you for phrasing it that way. And again, I can appreciate he's carefully choosing his words, and I can appreciate it. But never mind.
One guess is that these drones are not nefarious in intent. If they are, they are, but I doubt it. But if they are drones, the only reason why they would be flying and flying that low is because they're trying to smell something on the ground. That's it. There's no other reason for a drone to be flying in the air other than to piss a bunch of people off at night. That's it. So, my belief is they're trying to smell something on the ground. Gas leaks, radioactive material, whatever. So, and do I think that they're coming up out of the ocean? No, I don't think so. Drones that are multicopter type drones, not the fixed wing aircraft that look like regular airplanes, but the multicopters, they only have so much battery life. They have hybrid versions that are gas powered with electric, but those can still only fly for a short period of time.
Well, we know that's not necessarily true because we looked at the Jinglong. We looked at different versions of Jinglong. Jinglong flew for 15 hours, 12 hours. The quadcopters that we looked at had 6 to 10 hours. We saw quadcopters that came out of the water, but it's okay. The point we're trying to get to right now, ladies and gentlemen, is what is actually being said, not what people are saying is being said. As of right now, he says his guess is that they are searching for, and he acknowledges it's a guess. His guess is they are searching for gas leaks, or they're smelling gas leaks or radiation. I think the key thing is on this argument, technically, how is radiation detected? And when he says smell, well, we're not thinking about smell. How is radiation detected from drones? That's real easy to find out, and we'll look at it.
There's no way in hell that any drone is going to go miles off the coast as a multicopter and fly into the interior of the United States and do a bunch of work and then turn around and fly back. It's just physics will not allow that to happen. So these drones, I believe, are launched from a location that nobody knows, but I do believe that they're flying low enough that they're just trying to sniff the ground and try to find something. So again, I hate to be a pessimist or a guy that thinks, directly to the negative. However, I know as a professional, I mean, we build professional stuff for the military. I believe that they're actually out there trying to smell something that's very important. So anyway, let me know what you think of this video. I'm not trying to gaslight. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just trying to let people know that this is a serious deal. It's only serious for what the potential could be, or for what the potential is. There's a lot of them out there. They're flying all over. They're flying low. They're flying at night. There's no reason for it other than to smell something. So anyway, God bless. I hope you all have a wonderful Merry Christmas, and let me know what you think of the video. Thank you.
All right. So now let's go and let's try and see what we can find. First thing I want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is he keeps showing his drone behind him, and that's significant, and it stands out. And so let's see what. Let's do snippet. We want a new snippet. We want this image. All right, we want file save. Drone image. All right. Chief Executive Officer, Saxons, Wichita, Kansas. Cleveland Institute of Technology. Current jobs, number of past jobs. Let's see where Mr. Saxon has been. Helen Marine. Singapore. Aerospace and Saxon Remote System has one past job, business development in Harlan Marine. Superior Energy Services, Singapore. All right. All that vets completely out as to what he said. I mean, all of it vets out completely with what he said. Saxon Systems, John Ferguson is CEO. Overview. I don't know if I'll be able to get into LinkedIn to see. I think they want you to log in. I don't even know if my LinkedIn is still available. All right. Houston, Texas, the Ocean Corporation, Cleveland Institute of Electronics, Inspection Project, Thailand. All right, cool. Our source, who's talking, checks completely out. So now the next thing is logically, how do we walk through How do we walk through this? And so we have what he said. No nefarious intent. No the thing that stood out to me was when he said it would be used for ISR, so it would be surveillance, right? But it wouldn't make sense to be used for surveillance at night because drones don't see anything at night, but we're talking about government drones, and government drones themselves would be something that would have every type of technology you need on them, right? Let's see what the news is saying for a second. Let's see if this is a new statement.
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
Okay, this is what she said before, and initially. All right. See, the problem that we have right now is this. We have the Department of Defense, or the Pentagon, which we know is a deep state-run Pentagon. And they have a history of a whole bunch of foolishness. And unfortunately, what's being lost in the sauce of this is no matter what anybody comes out to say, the most important aspect of this is that it's coming from the Biden administration and the Pentagon, therefore associated with them. And we do realize, and we do understand that in this transition period, we've seen Joe Biden on the beach partying and relaxing, and Kamala Harris is missing. We've known that there's been a gap in leadership in the American White House for a very long time. And so you have forces and individuals pretty much who have free reign to do what the hell they want to do. This looks like AI to me, guys, to be honest with you. So the thing that's getting me here is I don't think anybody can accurately say they truly know what's going on, outside of the fact that without a doubt, this is the American government. I was saying this the other day. The issue is, why were they trying to do this, and what would be the end result of it? So, for example, let's just go with the narrative of Mr. Ferguson, that there's a bomb, a dirty nuke from Ukraine, which is 800 from the 1980s, that's around in America, that can be exploded, and they're searching for it. When I really think about this, from a narrative perspective, from a let's have a media narrative perspective. In fact, let's do one more thing before I talk. Let me just see Google Trends. Let me see what's in the news, and if it's penetrated the news today. Travis Hunter's dad, Chiefs versus Browns, Cowboys versus Panthers, Man City versus United. And the reason why we do this, guys, is because we want to stay grounded in truth. So as much as you may be consumed with the drones and what's going on, it doesn't mean that everybody's consumed with it. So you have to have an anchor at the top of your rabbit hole. It's kind of like you anchor yourself. So we need to anchor ourselves in truth again. No matter what happens, let's see how the public is perceiving this, right? Just past 4 hours, just to make sure we're not tripping. Barcelona, Ravens, Manchester United, Chiefs games, Man City, Texans, Chelsea versus Bedford, Southampton versus Tottenham, Joe Mixon, Miles Garrett, Sam Hubbard, Patrick Mahomes, Cowboys, Bengals. We're looking for drones. All right. So in the top 25 searches, nothing about drones is there. Past 24 hours, Travis Hunter, let's go down to the bottom. Nothing about drones. Okay, so now we're anchored in truth, because it means that the narrative has not penetrated into the subconscious of everybody. All right, so therefore, we can't let it penetrate our subconscious in our mind to the point to where it's like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. All right, now let's get back down the rabbit hole. All right. let's assume, based on what we see, that John Ferguson gave us his best guess based on what he knows, right? And let's treat John Ferguson as an insider. So now let's take the insights of the insider and look at the news and see if there's anything that matches the insight of the insider. All right, let's see.
Now from Fox, we are taking a live look over in New Jersey as we have this news conference getting underway on those drones. Let's pop up the audio and listen in.
Shockingly said this week, we haven't seen anything unusual. We know of no threat, close quote. What? The massive invasion of drones observed and recorded by so many of our citizens, including and especially law enforcement and military personnel, many who are here. Is it unusual? Is he kidding? How does Secretary Mayorkas, who infamously told us for years that our southern border was secure and closed when we know it's not, and now insult our intelligence that we haven't seen anything unusual?
And that's the most significant thing about this to me. When you look, if you really just go back and look at the history of the people that are speaking, whether it be the Department of Defense, whether it be Secretary Mayorkas, whether it be the FBI, when you really go back and look at the history of these people, they are all liars, and they're all proven liars. So we know that there's something nefarious afoot. The issue is what it is. Is it a dirty bomb? Possibly. Absolutely, possibly. Do I seriously believe it is? If we want to go down the line of dirty bomb, if we want to go down the line of a nuclear weapon, then there's going to be breadcrumbs that are there. Let's listen to this, and then we'll shoot down that line of thought live. I mean, not live, but we'll shoot down that line of thought together. Let's just see what we can glean. Make a mental note of what's being said. So he called out Mayorkas. Make another mental note that this is Representative Smith, a Republican from New Jersey. All right? Make another note that let's see if there's going to be any Democrats from New Jersey calling this out as well. Because I told you guys the other day, this seems like it's divided on party lines. And when you see something that's divided on political party lines, then you know there's really, really a significant reason for the psyop.
This is usual? I don't think so. And how can he and others, like National Security Spokesman Admiral John Kirby, say we know there's no threat? How do they know that? What aren't they revealing, or are they just saying it?
It seems to me that everybody knows what's going on except for us. This is what I'm getting from what he's saying. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene came out. This guy came out. Van Drew came out. Y'all been saying the same thing. It's a pressure campaign against the Pentagon. Let me see what else we can glean from this.
How can anyone speculate or issue assurances to thousands, millions of Americans who have witnessed, thousands who have witnessed the drones, that there is no threat? For weeks, we've asked for the truth and action to mitigate any and all threats to people and property. Now, we are demanding it. As the sightings increase, including by service members at Naval Weapons Station Earl, and I did talk to the commander there, his men are seeing it right there at the base. Are you kidding me? A munitions depot of that caliber, and these drones are hovering in close proximity to it. The Coast Guard told me the other day, and Sheriff Mastronardi, that one of its 47-foot rescue boats was followed in very close proximity off its stern by numerous drones. Why can't we bag at least one of these drones and get to the bottom of it? Why can't we even track them? I asked Secretary Mayorkas at a briefing, a Zoom briefing, why we can't follow them, find out where they're going. They're coming from somewhere. Okay, you can't seem to do that. Why can't we follow them and find what their origin is? Many of them seem to be coming from the ocean. I was with Sheriff Mastronardi the other day on the beach, and we saw a video, and we talked to one of his deputies talk about how she had seen 50 of them coming from the ocean to mainland. Is there something out there? We don't have the capability to do that. We don't have control over our airspace. And just remember, ladies and gentlemen, the feckless response to the Chinese Communist Party's spy balloon. When that thing traversed America and went over one very sensitive base, including the B-2 bombers base, after another. We did nothing except say, oh, it's a spy balloon. Or is it? Or is it a weather balloon? I still can't get over that one. The elusive maneuvering of these drones, I would suggest a major military power sophistication that begs the question whether they have been deployed to test our defense capabilities, or worse, by violent dictatorships, perhaps maybe Russia or China or Iran or North Korea. I mean, they have the capability, and they certainly have the motive. The Pentagon has said the drones are not ours. I've written Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin asking the Pentagon to authorize the use of force to down one or more of these unmanned threats to uncover the mystery. Bring them down over the ocean, over an area where there's no population. Bring them down and find out who's doing it. Knowing that drone warfare has radically changed warfighting in Ukraine and Russia, the Middle East, and elsewhere, this is not the time to trivialize or dismiss the threat. I want to express the profound thanks that I and my colleagues have to both Ocean County Sheriff Mike Mastronardi and Monmouth County Sheriff Sean Golden for doing all within their power and authority to aggressively investigate and track drone appearances. They are doing an amazing job. As many of you...
Let's be clear. Based on all the footage we've seen, even videos you can look at, like some of the ones that are here, they're drones. They're not UFOs. I believe that's AI. They're drones. I mean, point blank, period. So let's establish the fact that these are drones. Some people say, oh, they chariots of fire, they're this, they're that, they're that. They're drones. It's a drone light show. Where did the damn thing go? They're drones. So let's establish that. Does that mean that there aren't UAPs? And let's not even use the UAPs or UASs. Does that mean there's not UFOs? No, it doesn't mean that they don't exist. It just means that you have to differentiate between what you're dealing with and what you're not dealing with. The thing that disturbs me is this. The deep state, they're smart. They're deceptively smart. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to pimp everybody. And what do you mean pimp everybody, James? Well, if they can get enough people up in arms and enough people in the fear via the mechanisms of social media and conspiracy theorists, people who will be called conspiracy theorists on social media, and win them over, then now they have a form of control. Think about it like this. It was the conspiracy quote-unquote theorists who essentially defeated the Biden administration. The people that they label conspiracy theorists defeated the Biden administration in a deep state. It was all those people who stood strong, who stood firm, who stood against mandates and everything else. Mad lad savages, as Salty Cracker likes to call it. And so now what's coming forth is you're seeing things that get you emotional, that get you emotionally invested, that get you arguing and fighting, and it causes your attention to be put on the quote-unquote UFO movement. Oh, there's UFOs and this and this and this and this and this and this. Something else has to be happening right now that we are missing. And it has to be something extremely significant. And so I think what we need to do is we need to go and run down the rabbit hole of the drones and then climb back up and then run down the rabbit hole of what we're missing. Something is being missed, and this thing has to be massive in order for them to keep trying to push this narrative forward. Could it be the missing weapon? Maybe. I'll submit to you, there are sources that are in social media that are mouthpieces that have been right significantly. One of them is Mr. Alex Jones. If I'm not seeing and I haven't seen, I checked this morning when we left church. If I'm not seeing Alex Jones flip out, jump up and down about missing nukes, then 9 times out of 10 ain't no damn missing nukes. The last time there was a nuke that was missing, and it was a real nuke missing, Alex Jones lost his shit. He lost his mind. He jumping up, down, beating on tables, and turns out he was right. So there's certain canaries in the coal mine that you can look to just to see, okay, if Alex not over there spazzing, that's not what it is. If that's what it was, he will be on the air, jumping up and down, throwing stuff, going bananas. There's other people like him as well that have been way out ahead of everything. And so when you want to try and find out certain stuff, you go run over there and you go look and see. So I've already checked that. I haven't seen anything. So I'm not going with the whole nuclear thing. We'll run down the rabbit hole of the narrative to see what's the possibilities, but I don't think that's it. Because every other time, I mean, there's certain people that's on point. And if they're not covering it, it ain't there. I'm sorry, it's not there. Because you go on people's history. Like, if a dude has been in history of being right about stuff for 30 years, then shit, he right. 99.9% chance he's right. So, this is a distraction from something. I'm still leaning towards this drone thing being about funding and about money and being a money grab. The only other weird, freaky thing I could see, and just truthfully, the weird, freaky thing I could see, and if we wanted to go really conspiratorial, it would be that the Biden administration violated some type of agreement with real aliens. Like, for real. Like, it would make sense that if any administration would violate an agreement with real deal aliens, it would be these jackasses. Some kind of intergalactical agreement. These jackasses would violate it. And then what it would mean is that you would have actual UFO activity, and the drones are used to distract from the actual real UFO activity. Because these jackasses, and if you cannot readily admit that Mayorkas is a jackass, that the head FBI is a jackass, that Pete Buttigieg is a full-on jackass, if you can't admit that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, this whole entire administration is an administration of thieves, robbers, and complete and total idiots, then I don't know what to tell you. But I can see this administration violating any kind of agreements that they've had with anybody. I mean, point blank, period. I'm sorry. It's a lawless administration. You saw them push the boundaries of everything while playing victim, while playing like they're dumb. So that's the other thing. If you want to go down the road of real conspiracy, that would make some sense. They laid up there and did some stupid stuff they weren't supposed to do. Blew a nuke up in the ocean or something, did something dumb, and pissed off some real deal interdimensional, extraterrestrial beings. And they like, nah, bitch, we coming to see you. And so now they like, oh man, we got to fly some drones in the sky to try and distract and blah, 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 blah. That's hardcore.
And we put it up in the air. And the president, yes, need to move quickly to expand state and local authorities' powers. But DOD has it right now. Sheriff Golden wrote me a few days ago requesting legislation to empower the state police to seriously protect at-risk persons and infrastructure, and if necessary, bring down a dangerous drone or drones. I am now drafting that bill and will soon introduce it. I want to thank him for that idea. I'd like to now yield the floor to Sheriff Mastronardi and then to Sean Goldberg. Sheriff.
Thank you, Congressman. I just want to clarify a couple of things that have happened. We have a very robust drone program in Ocean County. We've had it for 8 years or more. We're very fortunate. It's headed by Sergeant Fennessy. When we started to get these reports at the 911 center from local PDs, we went out and we decided to do a drone patrol, more or less. and we took our tethered drone, which you see over here, that the officers are demonstrating, and we put it up in the air on Saturday night a week ago. At that time, Sergeant Fennessy, who's an experienced drone operator and pilot, and Officer D'Amico spotted one of the items that brought us concern. They videotaped it as far as they were. They got some tape on it. They described it as going around their drone and traveling off at a high rate of speed. They reported to us that it was, they felt it was 60 miles an hour or more. And it put it in perspective, our drones only go about 40 miles an hour. So that's number one. Sunday night, we were out again. This time was Sergeant Fennessy once again. And at that point, we got notified by our 911 center that there was concern of a sighting in Island Beach State Park. We responded. We met an officer, a certified New Jersey law officer, not from our department, from another agency. And that officer did an excellent job. She documented. That's where you're getting the reports of 50 drones coming off the ocean. That's what she reported seeing. She was on duty at the time, and she reports that she saw 50 drones coming from the ocean to the mainland, transversing the airways over Island Beach State Park, going down towards Barnegat Light and coming to the seaside area. As a result of that, we continue to operate. We've obviously notified all of our partners, FBI, State Police, Coast Guard. Coast Guard cutter put out a boat at a Barnegat Light. They reported to us what the Congressman referred to the comments. I have not spoke to the people on that boat directly. So what are we doing? We're taking proactive, working with Sheriff Golden, our partner, also Sheriff Nolan, Cape May County, and Sheriff Donahue from Atlantic County. We're taking some, trying to document what's happening, if there's anything happening off the coast of New Jersey. But, you know, obviously there's a lot of attention to this matter throughout. Social media is a little bit different than it used to be than when I first came on the job, so that's something you have to control too, because people are putting everything out there. We were looking at the time that the Sergeant Fennessy reported seeing the drone. We have flight radar mapping capabilities, and we did not see anything on indicating it was a plane. We get numerous reports of planes. On the other side of the coin, we get people reporting drones when we look right at the radar and say, no, that's a plane going over your house. And then they want to argue with you and say, no, no, no. So just so you know, the flight path to JFK out here, what we see is that they're traveling about 18 to 20,000 feet in the air. And coming out of Newark, going south in the western part of the county, they're about the same, 18 to 20 going south. The ones coming from the islands that are going to land at Newark come over our county at about 6,000 feet. These drones are less than 1,000. So obviously they want us to know they're there. They put on their lights. So who it is, I wish I could tell you. We don't know. We keep telling, everybody says, well, it's the government. I don't know, but I think the government has a responsibility, in my opinion, that if it is them, just tell us and we'll be happy about it. But if it isn't, we got to get some answers. So we continue. We see a lot of activity out here. We see other agencies now paying attention to New Jersey, thanks to the Congressman, his support. So hopefully we'll continue to get some answers in a short period of time. In the meantime, I can assure the resident of Ocean County, working with my partners in Monmouth, Ocean, and Atlantic County, that we'll do all we can to document and see what we have out there and address. We have teams that go out from our CSI unit when we get reports to try to document. We had an officer out. We have some special camera lenses that we're looking at, that they're up there and trying to convince the homeowners that, yeah, that's a planet, you're okay. So some of it's difficult on the other side. So we want to make sure we're just fair, reasonable, and let's deal with just the facts. Thank you very much. Sheriff.
All right. So now other agencies are coming out there to the ocean side, according to him, which we don't know. He said something very significant. He said we have to be mindful of social media because a lot of stuff is being put out there. He also said that they didn't see anything on the water or coming from a plane. Give me a second. Let's see something.
north come over our county at about 6,000 feet. But, you know, obviously there's a lot of tension to this matter throughout. Social media is a little bit different than it used to be than when I first came on the job, so that's something you have to control too, because people...
That's something you'll have to control. That's what I thought I heard him say. Because
we're putting everything out there.
People are putting everything out there. The problem with Sheriff has been consistent in what he says. The only thing that I heard differently is we have to control social media. But I'm not hearing anything that there's no justification as to why they need to control social media. It could be because they don't want people to be afraid, but let's just face it. You can't have drones over, watch this, drones over New York airport. So let's just face it, you can't have this. Where there's civilians flying in the air. For those people who say it's not drones, just clearly a drone, there's been adequate evidence that these are drones. It explains the twisting and turning and rapid movement. You put bright lights on it. They're in the Bronx. Here it is. Drones over New York County shut down airspace.
Frustration building with each new drone sighting across the Northeast.
And you said there's multiple drones all over the airport tonight, man.
The FAA forced to slow traffic at Stewart International Airport Friday night north of New York City because of multiple reports of drone sightings in the area. Overnight, Mayor Eric Adams saying his team is taking the reports of drones in the region seriously.
We're going to have an immediate response. We're getting ready to check. We're getting ready to look into some new, innovative ways of, if need be, to take down drones with the proper permission from the FAA.
And New York's Governor Kathy Hochul saying this has gone too far, demanding that the Biden administration step in by directing additional federal law enforcement to New York and the surrounding area.
Bro, this should seem like such a setup. I mean, this is a setup for something. I can't figure out what it is. Like, so that, think about it. Flying over airspace blows a hole, completely blows a hole into Mr. Ferguson's argument. Like, okay, so you flying over the airport to search for a damn nuclear material by the airport, where you got to shut down the airport. And there's reports of it flying over military bases. So you're flying over military bases because you want to check for radioactive material. That shit don't make no sense. This might just be Chinese spy balloon 2.0. But it's got to be Chinese spy balloon 2.0. And there's got to be some kind of federal rule and regulation or law that's preventing, well, one of my guys in the comments says it's illegal to shoot anything down out of the sky. And then when you look at what the mayor of New York just said, it makes all the sense in the world. Where did he go? He said we need permission to shoot them down. Where did he go? Watch this.
Multiple reports of drone sightings in the area. Overnight, Mayor Eric Adams saying his team is taking the reports of drones in the region seriously.
We're going to have an immediate response. We're getting ready to check. We're getting ready to look into some new, innovative ways of, if need be, to take down drones with the proper permission from the FAA.
What's the penalty? What's the penalty for taking down a drone without permission from FAA. No. I want to know the penalty for shooting down a government drone. $20 years in prison. That explains why nobody wants to shoot down a damn drone. Because shocking footage, drone or transport, UFO or drone transported under heavy escort. Really? 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 So this is the kind of dumb shit I'm talking about. Where the hell is this at? Now ask yourself a question. If the government got a UFO or a drone, would they ride that bitch down the middle of the street? This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, man. That is such an insult. I mean, it really, really is. Let's see what's going on in Argentina.
Son ovnis, está muy cerca, claro. Ovni asegurado. Es como que a veces se ve mal, es como que van de un lado para el otro, boludo. Amigo, están muy cerca, son ovnis. Están muy cerca, claro. Ovni asegurado.
Let's see what Cliif High is talking about. I got a lot of respect for Cliif High. Even though Cliif is a super duper Gnostic, and y'all know how I feel about Gnostics. Let's see what Cliif says.
Barely over a month between the temporal marker and the visible contention that will appear in the skies that from the descriptors we had back in 2009 will go to the idea of UFO versus UFO and UFO versus jets. Okay, so like sort of very complex.
He looks great, by the way. If you guys don't know that Cliif had cancer, I mean, Cliif, you look fantastic, bro. I mean, you really look good.
Kind of
independent. I mean, you look fantastic. He looks so strong. Wow, Cliif.
Independence Day kind of shit, right? Nobody will know who the hell is doing what with whom. Now, okay, so you think that's unlikely and so on, as do I. All this shit's always unlikely until it happens. You know, possible, not probable, right? So anyway, now we have a strange thing where there's swarms of 20-foot drones flying around military bases. So unknown. Nobody knows who owns these drones, who's controlling them. At least they're not telling us guys. I would suspect that the military would be freaking out if they can't see the signals that are directing those drones. And those drones are a kvass weapon, where one of the, okay, so yeah, I won't describe it, but basically you set off a group of drones that don't report back to headquarters until they're all done.
All right, I'm back, guys. Sorry about that. Somebody came to the door to get the trash, and I ended up running my mouth. Let's see what else we got here.
You know, this started as some questions, and now it's reached a point of almost insanity. You think about a United States senator who has to go out with the local police to look for drones. That's where a United States senator is getting information. We had a briefing from the state police, the colonel in the state police. He was frustrated. He had no idea where these drones are coming from. Not only did I call for a limited state of emergency and the FAA shutting down the airspace for drones, but also having the Department of Defense come in and answer questions. If the Department of Defense doesn't know where the origins are for these so-called drones, then we're in trouble. We always thought that if there was something in the air the size of a car, that the Department of Defense would know where it came from, what its origin was, and what its purpose was. Now you have a United States Senator going out with the local police, to look for fireworks at night? That is scary.
It is terrifying. Like Caitlin just reported, President-elect Trump is calling for government transparency, which you are as well. He's saying maybe shoot them down if we don't get any more information. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I would leave that up to the Department of Defense. But how can the Department of Defense not provide information to the public? This is a shock to me. You know, I have a general belief in government, but this is taking me to the end of my belief that government is really being honest. Now, there's been some apparently top secret briefings, right, with Congress people. Now, they come out of that, and I heard Josh Gottheimer come, the representative, and he said, well, I'm not getting a lot of information, but I don't think it's a threat. So my guess is there is information, but they're holding it back. And now what you have is panic. Originally some questions, now you have serious concerns. And at the next point, somebody's going to do something stupid. So the Department of Defense has to come clean with the American public.
So to your point, the FBI says they have no evidence of malicious activity or intent in these drone flights. What is it that they might not be telling us, and why?
Well, no evidence that this is a threat. What does that mean?
Right.
Exactly.
How does that help an average citizen and understand? No evidence of a threat? You mean?
No, I believe it's terrorism. I'm just going to tell you what I believe. I believe it's terrorism. Now, we just finished listening to Cliif High predict it. He didn't say what it was. Cliif High's webbot searches the web to figure out what's coming in the future. It was the 2009 version of the webbot. He's still going on his old web reports, which they've been very accurate. They'll tell you what's going to happen, but they won't tell you why it's happening. I just believe it's full-on terrorism in order to get more funding at this point in time. I mean, for example, let's just say, what's this guy's name? Freaking New Jersey senator. Let's say this New Jersey senator went into a meeting and word got out that there was a dirty bomb that was in New Jersey. Would you leave your family in New Jersey if you're the senator or the congressman? Wouldn't you ship your family away? Wouldn't you be streaming from a different location? If you went to a briefing and came out with some information, wouldn't you say, hey, we got to get the hell up out of here? I mean, just you. Let's say they told you couldn't tell anybody anything. Wouldn't you still say, all right, I can't tell nobody nothing, but hey, babe, listen, between me and you, they got some shit going down. Get your mom, get your dad, get the kids, get the grandkids, get your brother and sister. I want all y'all to head down to Texas for the week. I might have to stay, but y'all gonna head down to Texas for the week, for the month. Y'all gonna all go away. Right? There will be motion around it. I mean, not talk, but motion. So, we ain't seeing no motion, we're seeing talk. And if you want to create a panic, I mean, going into the Christmas holidays, the New Year's, I mean, it's the best way to create panic. I'm just not sure what the outcome of the panic is. It could just be because they want the funding, but it just don't seem like it's no nuke.
And they didn't do anything sinister yet? Well, yet. Yeah, I probably can make that statement, and I have no top secret clearance. Based on what I've seen so far, looking out my window, it doesn't appear to be a threat to our country. Okay, why? Well, because I looked out the window. That's all I'm getting from the federal government. And every single person, Democrat or Republican, has been calling for the same thing. That's why I have some concern that there is something very secret going on. Because how did the people with the technology have no idea, except it's not, if they're saying it's not a threat, it must be something going on that's real top secret.
Senator, have you had this kind of discretion from the government before when you've asked them questions straight out?
I've never seen anything go on this long. And why would the government allow the public to be so frustrated?
Right.
Why would the government allow a United States senator be so frustrated? We heard this from both sides of the aisle. Now that brings me to the point that whatever these drones are doing, the government really doesn't want us to know. What that must mean is they're more concerned with us getting knowledge and being afraid of that information than having no knowledge and having all these questions. That's why I'm worried about it. It must be something going on that they can't tell us because they are so fearful of what the public's going to do when they hear what the drones are doing. There's no way the Department of Defense does not know what's going on. We have not heard. Have we heard one word from the Department of Defense? Zero.
Unbelievable. And you are calling for a limited state of emergency and a ban on flying drones like you and I just talked about a moment ago. The FAA has already imposed no-fly zones. The drones are still in the air. Nothing is being done. How would what you're calling for change the situation? Obviously, whoever is putting these drones in the air isn't really caring about these warnings.
Well, I'm not sure about that because who's ever putting the drones in the air they're not violating the law technically. So if we put that in effect, we would see whether or not these individuals who are setting them up are bold enough to violate the law. Right now, why should they stop, assuming they're a private entity? I never would believe that this is a private entity, but if so, why do we need, let me ask you a question. Is there some reason we need drones that badly right now in the air when people are panicking?
Ah, damn it. I didn't mean to do that. Watch this.
Why would
Remember, I told you guys, I said earlier, I think this is about money. We about to get to it. Watch.
Why would the government allow a United States senator be so frustrated? We heard this from both sides of the aisle. They're more concerned with us getting knowledge and being afraid of that information than having no knowledge and having all these questions. That's why I'm worried about it. It must be something going on that they can't tell us because they are so fearful of what the public's going to do when they hear what the drones are doing. There's no way the Department of Defense does not know what's going on. We have not heard. Have we heard one word from the Department of Defense? Zero.
Unbelievable. And you are calling for a limited state of emergency and a ban on flying drones like you and I just talked about a moment ago. The FAA has already imposed no-fly zones. The drones are still in the air. Nothing is being done. How would what you're calling for change the situation? Obviously, whoever is putting these drones in the air isn't really caring about these warnings.
Well, I'm not sure about that because who's ever putting...
Now, this is very significant, ladies and gentlemen. In the context of someone flying drones over American airspace to make sure that they continue to get funding for drones. Listen to what this gentleman says and listen to how significant it is. Watch.
The drones in the air they're not violating the law technically. Who's ever putting the drones in the air they're not violating the law technically. So if we put that in effect.
Look how she's shaking her head like, yep, I know they're not violating the law. Yep, they're not doing anything wrong. So, ladies and gentlemen, since when UFOs follow the laws? Huh? Since when aliens come from another damn universe to follow American rules and laws?
We would see whether or not these individuals who are setting them up are bold enough to violate the law. Right now, why should they stop, assuming they're a private entity? I never would believe that this is a private entity, but if so, why do we need, let me ask you a question. Is there some reason we need drones that badly right now?
And here's the next phase. I told you guys, December 3rd, they put an article out talking about how America needed a drone program for drone warfare. And so now he's saying, let me ask you something. Is there some reason we need drones that bad right now? What?
I never would believe that this is a private entity, but if so, why do we need, let me ask you a question. Is there some reason we need drones that badly right now in the air when people are panicking? Shut them down FAA should shut them down. Who are they helping? All they're doing is creating panic.
I agree with you. To that point, what do you want to tell your constituents, Senator?
Continue to put pressure on, and it's not even state officials. I saw Larry Hogan said something the other day. This is the federal government that's not coming clean. And I'm not one of these conspiracy people, but if this continues, you're going to see conspiracy theories that, in my judgment, are create panic. So come clean now. Everyone on both sides of the aisle is asking for this. And I'll tell you something, the citizens deserve better.
Interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting. I'll be back.